issue of kidnappings is almost unending. And why is this so? These are the issues we want to look at, and what do we do to stem the tide? Joining us this morning is a retired Army officer, Colonel Tony Inyam. Thank you very much for being a part of this.
Thank you.
As well as Mr. Leye Oyebade, who is the Assistant Inspector General of Police in charge of Zone 11, overseeing Ondo, Osun, and Oyo commands. Thank you very much for being here.
Thank you so much.
So let's begin with you, Colonel Inyam. There are many stories making the rounds about kidnappings all over the place. Just yesterday, we heard that 4 immigration officers somewhere in River State who were kidnapped on Monday were rescued by men of the Nigerian Navy and some other forces yesterday. And of course, the media is always replete of, kidnap stories. 2 Nigerian lecturers kidnapped, a child kidnapped in 2014 found in Anambra, Boko Haram kidnapped, a Living Faith pastor released 8 months after. We could go on and on. What is responsible for all of these?
First, 2 things. 1, loss of values. 2, unemployment.
Just those 2?
Basically, the root of the matter is that loss of values, in the sense that family systems values are lost, in the sense that the upbringing we had when we were young is kind of set aside. And then, of course, the massive problem of unemployment. And unemployment helped by the fact of the population growth of the youths. If you walk around the streets, I left home from Lagos Island coming down. Even by 5 o'clock, 5:30, there were girls in the streets, girls hawking themselves. And so many youths. So in terms of demography, the population growth, the unemployment, and that inability of the elite to realize that there's a time bomb in not dealing with the issue of unemployment. It's a big problem. So
now, you mentioned the loss of values,
yes.
And that brings to mind the fact that those people who you talked about, that while you were growing up, those values were there. How come those values were eroded? The Human Rights Watch, I think, released a report recently that says that the average age of the people involved in this crime is within the ages 16 and 22. So if they have parents, they definitely grew from some parents. How come these values are lost while the parents are still alive?
First of all, the parents, in many respects, because of the economy, have kind of lost their respect vis-a-vis their children, in that you find that 1/3 of girls in universities are sponsoring themselves and helping to sponsor their siblings. And in many cases, some parents look the other way. So the impact of the economy is there. Secondly, I would say boldly, the sincerity of the sincerity of purpose and teachings of our men of God, both Islam and Christianity, is also part of it. And then the other growing problem is that the social media, the role of artificial intelligence, robotics, in taking jobs away from people, which is going to continue, is going to throw more of our youths into position of temptations.
I'm not sure that that's much of a problem for us in Nigeria as at yet, because technology, I don't know if corporations already have that.
Let me say, there's a lot of problem on that. Look at the banking. Okay. If you look at how we've lost staff in the banks, you have 4 machines working. Each ATM is doing the job of about 500 people, 24 hours. So it's taking jobs from people.
Okay.
So that is it.
Does that explain the issues of banditry in the northeast, in the northwest, in the north central, in the southwest, in the southeast? And the
No,
south?
there was a former chief of army staff who spoke recently a very quiet chief of army staff, Kazar, and he said, he made the win that the problem of security is that you cannot be dealing only with the hard option. You have to deal with the causes of corruption, of insecurity, which is unemployment.
Okay. Well, let's take this to Mr. Oyebade now. What do you make of all of this?
Now, let's look at it from even giving birth to a child. The first point of call is the home. And I want to say that the family as an entity has lost its own role. So you look at the building up of a child starts from the home to the school, from the school to the society. The society now, you now talk about where he goes to interact. That's where you can talk about church or mosque influences can come. Now, in those days, the family would take care of that child, and there are values, just like he has said, that are already inculcated right from the beginning. All those are gone because of globalization, modernization.
Well, many people will argue that, Mr. Oyebade, because we always had the police.
Right.
To put people in check.
Right.
We always had armed robbery. I mean, the cases of Oyenusi, Anini, all those ones also come to mind. But all of that, we had family values at that time, in those days. So if we are laying this issue of tackling kidnappings at the foot of the family, aren't we abdicating or absolving the security forces of their own responsibility?
Security forces come in more to prevent. And that's the angle I'm looking at it. And that is what we're doing now. The prevention. To start with, in my zone, what I do, we've started going out, the public relations department, to start talking to the students about the ills in joining calls, going to get themselves involved in drug and all that. Because that is the beginning of because when you now go, you are emboldened. When you are a member of the cult and you are emboldened, when you are on drugs, then you can now go out and commit all these heinous crimes. So we need to go to the root. When you want to cut a tree, you go to the root and uproot it. So let's go to the root, talk to the students from the beginning.
Who are the people that are supposed to take?
We are doing that also. That's why I said the family. In Nigeria today, the father, the mother, everybody is out. They come home 12. Nobody is looking at any child again.
While we are looking at the roots
Right.
of this tree,
No.
okay,
Right.
we already have the fruits.
Okay.
Just yesterday, I think, or day before yesterday, I think it was one of these leaders had this meeting in Ibadan, you know, within your zone, talking about some security stakeholders forum that they organized, and said that he had written to governors that, look, insecurity in the Southwest is getting out of hand, and that he wrote to them, and that nothing was that they're talking about Gani Adams.
No,
he wrote to them, nothing was being done by them.
No.
So what is what role do you see the governors and the traditional rulers playing in tackling these issues that didn't just start yesterday?
Thank you. When I came on board, and you know, when I came on board, that zone was really having a lot of challenge when it comes to kidnapping. Thank God we've been able to do a lot of work to stem it down. I created the Zonal Security Stakeholders Forum. And that forum, we have representatives of the governors, all stakeholders, critical stakeholders that have to contribute to ensuring that crime and criminality is brought down. So you have representatives from the markets, from the media, from even the academia. Everybody, we sit down every month and we discuss. That is real community policing at work. And it has been working. And you remember that we have a security summit in Ibadan. I presented a paper, and that is working already because we are engaging the communities. All those things that happen, the criminals are living with the communities. And so the leadership of the communities, the Baales, the traditional rulers, the hunters, they are all very relevant when it comes to tackling crime. In those days, if anybody comes to a village, he is easily identified. But in a contemporary Nigerian society where there is a lot of development, you hardly can get that to do. But then we can still do it when you have a leadership in place that takes cognizance of security and takes security very seriously. I teach them, do biodata of all your staff. And I give you one example. When we had one case of kidnapping and we are able to arrest one suspect and he confessed, that criminal that confessed left his place of work without even the owner knowing that he left the place of work to go and commit crime. So it's about getting security consciousness. Everybody has to be security conscious. A guard in a filling station for night duty went out to commit crime, and the owner of the filling station have no security template to recognize that that man did not come to work. So we have to go down, educate, discuss, and tell them, teach them on how to be security conscious, how to guide, even individually. We need to be security conscious. You get driver, you get cook, you don't even know where they come from. You just put a good driver is needed. Proficiency in driving, fantastic. But do you know his route? Okay. So we need to get all this into our people. Let everybody be security conscious. Okay. Let the schools also start teaching. Let the organization, the police is going out to do more of talking, and we are doing not only talking, we are having community policing. That is the Inspector General of Police policy now, that we should go out, engage other critical stakeholders in the administration of criminal justice. The police is just one organization. We have to relate with the judiciary, especially in the Ministry of Justice, the Office of the DPP. We have to exchange ideas. We need to work together so that we can do something better.
So, in the process of getting all of this done, there will definitely have been a need for you to say, okay, you know what, before we can deal with this issue, we need to find out where it's coming from. Has the police, especially in your zone and under your leadership, been able to track, okay, this is the root of this kidnapping, this menace of kidnapping?
He has just identified two issues there. Now, the devil's workshop is in the person who is idle. When you have all graduates who are unemployed and they are intelligent, you are expecting problems.
Is this an official position? I'm just trying to find out if there is a position that you have been able to take in your zone, in that, okay, this is one of the roots causes of this menace of kidnapping in the Southwest, especially in your own zone, and
it's growth. Growth. If a society is developing, I've told you, you see, development comes with a lot of things. When a society develops, you expect also crime in that place to develop. Okay. In those days when there were no handsets, there won't be online fraud. So the development of technology is part of it.
Okay.
In those days, you go and keep in the market. You don't even need, you just leave it there. They will come and pay and carry and pay and leave.
Okay.
But all those things we can't do all them. So we have to look at the society is developing. Yeah. Even modern, outside this is a global phenomenon. It's a global challenge. Yeah. Terrorism is all over the place.
But Colonel Liam, yes, with growth comes preparation. We knew that a child who's been born will go to nursery school. Consequently, we prepare for the child. To go with what Mr. Oyebade has said now, we knew growth was coming. Do you think we anticipated the challenges that will come with this growth?
That's the problem. The problem is the lack of visionary leadership, lack of strategic thinking to plan ahead. And these words I'm using, we had an example of in the western region in those days. Awolowo thought of all this. But before I go on, let me take the time to commend the AIG and, of course, the present IG, like I've said before, compared to the one before him. The way they rushed to deal with the kidnapping in the Southwest, which was most alarming, but the way they dealt with it and the way they started the operationalization of the community policing in Southwest is commendable. Of course, I'm also commend the Alaafin and the Oni who put their weight behind So that with their weight behind, I must say the AIG had the support to do his work. Because unlike other places where the AIG may be afraid to say, if I do this to people, maybe I'll get a phone call from Abuja. Now, so I need to take the chance to commend the AIG because they did a good work in the Southwest, and it's still the work in progress. There's more to be done. He just talked about community policing. I only wish to add to what he's saying, that what I detect is that the police seem to be fixated, that the community policing, the verb policing is a verb, it's not a noun. In other words, it's a principle, it's a way of a practice. What am I saying? We still need the idea of state police. So at times, the police force tend to argue as if community policing will replace state police. Because state police is a noun, that is, it's an establishment. Community policing is not an establishment, it's a practice, it's a principle. So I just wanted to get that. So what I'm saying is that we still need to carry on to really have community policing in fully. You need a police that is manned, controlled by the people themselves. So I'm making a case that to help police further, we need state policing. Now, as to the issue of how the growth, the issue of the way society is growing and the way society will grow, it means that Abuja cannot be in control of the policing nationwide. Abuja has to devolve its power so that people can deal with police as best as they can in their own area. The principle of policing, which is locally employed, locally recruited, is not there. So I see, like in Lagos, for example, where the government supports the police. You see, the police are much more resourceful in Lagos because they have the state government support, something which they started here from Asiwaju's time. You know, the Lagos state, any policeman here is comfortable to be here compared to other places where they don't even have vehicles. So, but I'm saying that in addition to the federal police, there's a need for state policing.
While that is a given, one of the arguments that many people have also pushed forward right now is the number of personnel that these police have to work with.
Very low.
That's on the one hand. On the other hand is the speed at which these people are killed in the course of duty.
Indeed.
And right now, what do you think we can do now to stem that tide? How encouraging can it be when they have to deal with this? And we're not just talking about the police here now. We've talked about the army, who are also being co-opted one way or another, and some other security, apparatus of state who have also been co-opted into internal security. So how do we manage this?
First of all, I think it is the federal government program has to be more. For example, where you see in a country where police, like today's headlines, bandits shot 3 policemen. You see, it's the worst thing that can happen in a society. In Mexico, when the drug dealers started taking on police, the society rose up. Because the moment you start taking on police, that society is falling apart. That was why what happened in Taraba was which the army officers did. I, as an ex-military man, it was the most embarrassing thing, and I'm happy that the army rose up to it. And of course, this IG did not chicken in and allow not to stand by his men, as some other people do. Stood by the police. What am I saying? The moment you see police being taken on by bandits, and the society is doing nothing, is the saddest thing. I think the government needs to rise up more to continue expanding the police size and also continue the education or the orientation of policemen so that we have policemen like the AIG like the IG, who are much more professionally oriented. And then thirdly, too, is that I also appeal to the IG that his last police appointment of the bosses, they were mostly people from some part of the country at the expense of some other parts. We need federal character to be reflected. And I think that is the responsibility not of the IG but of the president.
We'll come to that. But let me quickly take Mr. Yebade up on that. How do you respond to that, especially about when your men go out, assured that they are going to work, sometimes not sure that they're going to come back?
It is worrisome, I must admit. But you see, what we're doing is to arm them with security gadgets. In my zone, and I know that is also for other zones, because the Inspector General of Police at our last meeting made mention of it. The last thing he wants to hear is that a policeman is killed. And how do we go about that? So apart from counseling, talking, and all our training and all that, we have developed that our body armor that we need to use, and also for them to be able to use on the helmet when they go on operation like that. Now, apart from that, what I want to respond about the community policing that he mentioned. You see, community policing is a strategy. It's a strategy. And I want to say that the country for today, with what we are facing, we need to take community policing as the strategy to be able to deal with heinous crime. And I'll tell you why. Every year in this country, the government takes a look at a national problem, a national issue that needs solution. And I happen to know that they will give that topic, they will give a theme to a group of professionals to do research and come out with solution. I know that Cornell knows about what I'm talking about. At NIPS, the government have gone that far because I happen to be part of the last course. The theme given to us is internal security framework and community policing in Nigeria, models, policy options, and strategies. And we did a whole year to study, even locally. We went on African tour, we went internationally, and we came up with a proposal. And that paper was presented to the president when the Federal Executive Council was in session, and I was part of those that did the presentation. And that is what we are implementing. So what I'm saying now is everybody has to come on board to partner with the police now, to collaborate with us. And that is the way forward.
Yeah, that collaboration
everybody has to come on board.
It's something that we'll dwell a little more on that,
yes,
you know, in a short while.
Right.
You know, how many agencies of government need to come, you know, together,
right,
the kind of inter-agency rivalry that has existed and how that has affected our security apparatus over time. We'll be back in a moment. Please stay with us.